Hello and welcome to another episode of Slice and Dice Ecom. I'm Josh, the founder of the agency, and once again, I'm joined by
Dan, the senior SEO specialist at ClickSlice.
In this episode, what I want to do is touch on something that is, I wouldn't say it's a hot topic, but I literally see this over and over again since I do all the discovery calls at the agency, and it's how hiring the wrong agency can literally kill your e-commerce brand. I have lost count in just the last month of how many brands I've spoken to that have said, we've been burnt in the past, my site's tanked, like the Google Search Console traffic is literally like this and just drops off a cliff. Yeah. They've got penalties. It's such a bad situation to be in. So what I wanted to do is start the conversation talking about what are the signs that you should look out for if your agency might be implementing the wrong SEO strategies and causing you a lot of harm.
Yeah, I mean, I would say 90% of the work we do is actually undoing the work that bad agencies have done.
Yeah, it's true.
So there's two areas where most, I would say, poor agencies try and get you quick results, not realizing that quick results Google is fully aware of and they actively penalize.
Yeah.
If you're trying to game the system in any way, like you're going to get penalized. So the first area that you need to check, and this is something that if you're taking any amount of care with your business, you need to be checking this every week, in my opinion. But you need to be checking what kind of backlinks are actually coming in. So in the short term, it's very easy to spike a site with loads of spammy backlinks. The signals that Google sees is that all of a sudden, this website's getting recommended by loads of other websites. It must have gone viral. But then it has a second check, which takes a couple of days or a couple of weeks later, that reviews the actual quality of those backlinks. If they are not the right quality, it's going to be classified as spam. And then any ranking gain that you may have temporarily got, you're going to lose. Not even just lose. You're probably going to lose more than you had before you started implementing that strategy. So one way that you check for this is check your Google Search Console. Look at the latest links that are coming through. If you don't recognize the links that are coming through and they don't make sense, as in you're getting the one that we see that's quite common is you get like a directory style listing and there's like 100 other businesses listed on the same page, but just in a single line of text. Like if you see that, you need to immediately cut that agency. 100%. That is one of the worst strategies for you. On top of that, and this is one area that Google are repeatedly mentioning as like one of their main kind of trouble areas that they encounter, is now that everyone can produce AI content at the click of a button, it takes you like literally 5 seconds. They now look at that quality, at that content, and they apply a low quality content limiter to it. Yeah. So even if you're filling out your site with loads of content that's topically relevant, if it's low quality, it's going to have the reverse effect. Short term, you might see a spike.
See a little spike.
Yeah, but long term, you're going to get penalized for that. And then ultimately what then has to happen, an agency like us that knows what they're doing has to come in and just basically not delete, but we have to fix all of that content.
Everything.
Yeah, we have to overhaul the whole thing.
And the problem is, you said as well, touching on the content, like once you have that content limiter on your site and Google's not crawling it, if you then start to publish high quality content, you know, it has that tough grey area where it doesn't happen overnight, which is why we say to brands like, you know, hiring a cheap agency, it's actually very expensive. It's going to cost you a lot of money in the long term.
It's one of the few fields as well where it's not something you can just fix
quickly.
Unfortunately not. Like it takes time because the way Google assesses site quality, it's not done day to day. It's done sometimes over 3-month periods. And even then, you might get the limiter removed, but you're not getting the traffic back. You still have to rebuild that trust with Google. So I would say SEO more so than PPC, social media marketing. If you mess up in this area, it's going to take you 6 months realistically to start getting back to where you were before. So is it expensive? Yeah, it's super expensive to pick the wrong agency.
I agree.
Yeah, so on that topic then, how important, in your opinion, is it for an agency to understand the products or the services that a brand is selling?
Critical. I think too many agencies are guilty of just speaking with brand owners. Oh, you sell mics. Great, we'll rank you for mics. And it's like, what's the USPs of the mic? Is it better than the competitors? What's the price point? You know, what's going on in the market? And I think we do such a great job in our sales process, especially me, because I do the calls on a initial kind of discussion with a brand, and I dig so hard and so deep into this conversation. Where is it made? What's your USPs? Why are you selling this? How long have you been going for? Is it family owned? Right? This stuff is really important for us to know, because when we're writing content to get your brand seen, we need to know what to put out there. If you're just selling another product that is accessible everywhere, it's just a commodity essentially. There's no value, right? Which then makes it harder for us to deliver ROI. So I think it's absolutely critical that the agency you hire truly understands your products as well. 100%.
Yeah, definitely.
So we obviously touched on earlier about, hiring the wrong agency can kill your traffic, kill your Google Search Console data, make it look horrible, right? What about your brand reputation in the space? That's also something we don't really consider that much, right?
Yeah, I mean, it all ties back into kind of the experience that you're giving your users on the website. So obviously we've mentioned low quality content, but in that low quality content, it can also be misleading. It can, like, if you're not checking, because most business owners do not have the time to check over every piece of content that an SEO agency puts out, because it can be, 20 pieces in a month. It can be a lot, particularly at the start of a campaign. So if that information is incorrect and you've left it for a while, not only is it going to get picked up in traditional SEO and your customers are going to be confused, or, it's going to send the wrong signals, but AEO is now going to get the wrong impression of your business as well. And so you're basically long-term, you're definitely like long-term harming it. The other area that we see quite a lot is a lot of agencies pretend, or not necessarily pretend, but they think they can do on-page optimization, and they can build like highly converting pages, and they just can't.
They can't. We've seen them, right? Horrible.
And the thing is, it takes our team quite a while to refix all of it. Yeah, it does take a while, but ultimately you have to think a customer isn't just a customer one time. A lot of the time they're repeat buyers. If you've lost that to a competitor, that's, a revenue stream.
It's not the AOV, it's the LTV, right?
Exactly, yeah, exactly. And if every landing page that you have converts terribly, you're losing customers, not just in the short term, but in the long term as well to your competitors, which just makes the climb to number one so much harder. So,
I like to refer to it as like you've got like a cup, and then you're filling up the cup with water, and that's essentially doing SEO, right? And then all the holes you have at the bottom is mistakes.
And it's just going into your competitors' cup.
Exactly, yeah. You need to really put a tape on that as soon as possible. And obviously there's lots of mistakes that people make, right? But some of these mistakes can actually cause Google penalties.
Yes.
What's the long-term lasting effects of a client getting penalized?
Could be the end of your business. Like, we've seen it before.
Is that true, right? It literally is that true?
Yeah.
People
really
think we exaggerate when we say that. Like, it literally could be.
I mean, the thing is, if you get a manual penalty and you don't rectify it in the right time, and assuming it's not one of the like fatal manual penalties, it can take a year, sometimes 16 months sometimes, to recover from a manual penalty. That's you did everything right for 12 months and they still haven't removed the penalty. So if you think that SEO is, let's say it's 25-30% of your business's revenue, can you survive about 30% at your current scale? Probably not.
With the acquisition costs that SEO provides as well, compared to other channels?
Exactly, yeah. Because if you try and replace that with PPC, how much is that actually going to cost? And usually for most companies, it's not profitable to do so. No. So it can spell the end of the business for sure. Yeah, so I guess this ties into something that we see a lot, which is your competitiveness. Like, from what you've seen, how does picking the wrong agency impact that?
I guess it can be viewed two different ways. It's hiring the wrong agency, and it's also not starting SEO, which is also the equivalent as sometimes hiring the wrong agency. Because I've had calls with brands where it's like, we want to do SEO, we want to diversify ourselves, we're doing really good on paid social, paid search, but organic's quite low. I'm like, cool, like we can help you, this is what we do, we're great, here's our strategy, it's custom, getting the whole roadmap. Then they say, I don't know, like I'm going to put that money on paid search instead. Like, okay, no pressure, like we're not desperate. Then they come back to me 6-7 months down the line, like, can we revisit the SEO strategy? Sure, but your competitors that I showed you 7 months ago are even 7 months further down the line now. So it's just, essentially chasing this thing that gets further and further away. So it can be very, very costly. And again, if you hire the wrong agency, it's not just a case of, they're now 7 months ahead. It's now they're 7 months ahead, and you could be 2 years behind now. If you get penalized, you get a manual penalty.
It scales as well. So the longer you're leaving it, if they're doing good SEO, like if they hire us, it's not 7 months.
No,
it's
going
to take you like 2-3 years to catch up at this point. So
I've started saying to brands recently that, like, if you run a brand and you sell high quality products online and you don't invest in SEO, to put it nicely, you do not like money. Like, why are you in business?
Absolutely.
Like, the acquisition cost on SEO compared to other channels is absolutely insane. Insane. Tiny. You rank your brand in ChatGPT, like, you've seen the numbers we have in Profound. The clients are generating tons of sales, tons of traffic. And there's brands out there that say, nah, I'm just going to keep throwing more money at Google. And the thing with Google, nothing against Google ads, but you're renting traffic. You don't own that. You turn your Google ads off, you have no business. No, you turn paid social off, no business.
It gets more expensive year on year on year as well, and it has done forever. And there is no reason that will ever slow down. So as much as you definitely need a paid traffic channel, if you're not capitalizing on SEO, you are literally leaving a huge amount of margin on the table.
It's a bidding war.
It is.
Right? It's an auction, you're bidding, right?
And all it takes is one aggressive competitor to come into the space, and the CPCs just go through the roof, and it just ruins it for everyone.
Every brand thinks they're immune to that, and they're protected until it happens to them, which is unfortunate. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah, so one area that we see a lot, and it seems to be more frequent at the moment, I'm not entirely sure why, but you've obviously got your traditional SEO work, but you've also got the more advanced work like site migrations. Very easy to get that wrong. Very
Too easy to get wrong.
Yeah. So like, what have you seen from migrations that have gone wrong? I mean, even recently, 'cause there's some clients that we've got where there's been incorrectly applied migrations. What do you see that happens when this kind of comes through the pipe?
So what normally happens, one very recently, 2 months ago actually, where the brand I was speaking with, they didn't onboard with us. They wanted to get their website redesigned, and I said, hey, no problem. I know we're not working together. We haven't signed the contract, but we love your brand. We can help you. More than happy to speak with your web designer or developer just to make sure the SEO elements are intact when you migrate. They're like, no. The guy I'm working with, he's a web developer, but he said he knows SEO. Okay, cool. And then he changed the URLs, the content density is completely different across the website, the H1s are different, like everything's completely gone.
No index tags embedded into the whole site.
And then she comes to us with the site, and I'm like, we can't onboard this as it is. We need to fix this first. And that's why you haven't seen it come through the new clients channel as of yet, because I haven't onboarded this client. So, it can cause a lot of problems. And I'm basically now working with her and a web designer, web developer to action the SEO work. And the problem is, because he's not an SEO expert, he'll say he's done something and I'll check it and it's not done correctly. So, if you're getting a site migrated, you have to work with an SEO expert. And we've got a brand we're speaking with at the moment who's Stockton Harrods, we won't name them, and they are going through a migration at some point next year, and they keep pushing it back, which is the right thing to do because we don't want to rush a migration.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, the consultant at this brand has done a migration in the past, and they have single-handedly seen how bad it can actually go. So I think some people will think a website migration is not a big deal. We can do it ourselves. My web designer can do it. He does SEO on the weekends. And then some brands will be like, this needs to be managed correctly. The ones that win from 50 plus migrations I've seen in the last 2 years are the ones that take migration seriously and get an SEO agency in-house or, part of the process to assist with it essentially. Yeah.
So on top of that then, so you've got the migrations, you've got the low quality, you've got the obvious things. What are the main red flags that you need to look at when you're going to hire an agency?
The number one red flag, in my opinion, is you cannot hire an SEO agency that is on page 2 or page 3. Like, does that make any sense?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, in what other example analogy would someone do that? You're literally hiring someone to make your business more visible. The best agencies are the ones that are at the top. So if you're an ecom brand, go onto Google, search for e-commerce SEO agency, search for Shopify SEO agency, right? Search for e-commerce growth strategy. Like, the ones at the top are the ones that will be killing in SEO, because SEO changes every single, arguably month to month, right?
It's getting like that, yeah.
So, if you're seeing an agency rank there, not just once, not just 2 months, not just 5 months, but 4.5 years, like we have, which, I don't say this lightly because it's not an easy job, right?
Difficult thing to do,
there are tons of agencies that would love to be in our position in terms of where we rank, and it's just because we actually care about the work we do and we have the best minds in the industry that work for us. So, number one, you need to be ranking for your keywords. Number two is long contracts.
Yes, it's a huge issue, that.
If you're confident at what you do, you shouldn't need to tie someone into a 12, 18, 24-month contract. Why? If you're good at what you do, you can get them ranking, you can generate traffic, generate results, and they'll stay with you for 12, 18, 24 months. So again, that's a red flag as well, because I've seen a lot of brands that have come to us that they want to start with us, like next month, but they can't because they've got a 3-month notice period. It's like, what? 3-month notice period?
It's wild.
They're making you no money and you're still paying them. Isn't that a scam? That's a scam in my opinion.
It's exactly a scam.
So I think that's two really big things. Anything you want to add to that?
I would say case studies. This is something that most brands, obviously, you have to be careful with the information that you share in a case study, but at the same time, as long as you've got a good relationship with the client, you can give somewhat generic information that's very helpful to anyone that's onboarding. And ultimately, like, how else can you prove that you know what you're doing? Like, sure, it's great if you do have, well, it's not great, it's essential that you have high rankings yourself, but can those rankings be applied to specific industry? And while there'll never be, or at least for the most part, there shouldn't be a like for like an agency shouldn't be doing two companies in the same vertical. No, like, that's a
conflict of interest.
Yeah, it's a massive conflict of interest. But as long as you can see that there is businesses that are somewhat similar to yours in terms of the difficulty, in terms of the competitor quality, if the agency can show that they have definitely ranked against those kind of environments, they're probably the right agency for you. Assuming there's not a 12-month contract, because that's, that's
and to
wild.
touch on that as well, like you're saying, like for like, it goes without saying, if you run an ecom brand, you should not be behind a generalist SEO agency that works on lawyers, plumbers, electricians. Like, it doesn't make any sense. They're not a specialist in your area. And the other part I'd say that kind of combines with that as well is you want to make sure the case studies are kind of up to date, because there's a lot of agencies that are guilty of showing case studies from 2007, 2008 when it was super easy to rank in Google. And I would say, like, you can ask the agency like, oh, what are your case studies? What's your most recent one? You know, ask them on a sales call. Try to catch them out.
Yeah,
Because,
absolutely.
You know, some won't be transparent. And if they say, oh, this case study was published 2 months ago, take the keywords, Google them. Are they still ranking those keywords? If not,
exactly.
raise the question, right? And it's in your best interest because you don't want to just hire the wrong agency because, as we discussed already, it can cost you a lot of money and time, which is the biggest factor, which you can't really get back, essentially.
Yeah, there's another area as well that I think it's quite hard to gauge this if you don't have SEO knowledge yourself, but you need to be asking somewhat technical questions in the kind of onboarding calls that you have with another agency. If they are trying to confuse you with what they're saying, it's a red flag. Ultimately, what we do is very complex, but we should be able to explain it in relatively simple terms that, you know, most intelligent people can follow. If you find yourself being lost by the jargon that they're throwing at you, they're probably doing it intentionally just to try and keep you away from the fact that they probably don't
know
really
what to talk about.
yeah.
Sound clever, right? Try and press you.
Yeah.
It always backfires.
Yeah.
No, true. So that has been Josh and Dan on another episode of Slice and Dice. Once again, thank you for watching and stay tuned for another episode coming out in 2 weeks' time.
See you.